Namaskar and welcome to India Science. We bring to you a special program on World Earth Day, Invest in Our Planet. And it gives me great pleasure in welcoming to our studio Mr. Chandrabhushan, CEO iForest, who is India's foremost environmentalist and climate expert. Thank you so much for
Thank you,
sparing your
Nidhi.
time, sir. Friends, World Earth Day is celebrated for protecting the environment and awareness of the characteristics of the Earth. The distinctive fabric of life makes it a unique planet. The 2022 World Earth Day theme is Invest in Our Planet. The solution to many problems, therefore, including climate change, is to move towards conserving our planet. We need to act boldly, innovate broadly, and implement equitably. Many issues are arising due to the indiscriminate exploitation of nature. Now is the time for the unstoppable courage to preserve and protect our health, our families, our livelihoods, and together invest in our planet. And on this day, I'd like to ask a few questions, and I'd like to begin by asking you, sir, that what do you feel is appropriate about this theme, Invest in Our Planet? How do you look at this?
The theme is extremely appropriate simply because we need to invest in the planet to save this planet. Uh, we are at a very precarious position as far as many of the climatic and natural systems are concerned. Climate change is a runaway problem right now. There is loss of nature. Biodiversity is getting decimated. Our water is polluted. Our air is polluted. We are facing massive environmental challenges. And therefore, investing in planet, investing in environmental protection is the most important theme that we should be talking about.
Absolutely, sir. Climate catastrophe and not climate change. How would you aptly describe this phenomena?
I think the appropriate word is climate catastrophe, simply because we are dealing with the worst impacts of climate change. See what has happened to Delhi in the last 15 days. This is a month of April and we have heat waves. It is not supposed to be so hot in April.
45 degrees.
It's 45 degrees. That kind of temperature is there in May and June, which is the hottest month. But in the month of March and April, we had 45 degrees temperature, which is unheard of. And people are struggling on the roads. Electricity consumption has gone up. There seems to be now a crunch on energy supply. So everything is getting disturbed and distorted because of extreme heat wave that has hit the city. But this city is not the only city which has been hit by heat wave. There was a heat wave in Himachal Pradesh. Who could have thought that in Himachal Pradesh you will have heat wave? So we are now dealing with a crisis situation, and it is a catastrophic situation. If we do not deal with climate change with all earnestness and seriousness, it is a climate crisis. It is not a change.
Absolutely. I'd like to ask you now why we are not getting results on air pollution despite closing factory and construction work in Delhi NCR, if we talk of only these two major.
But we are not getting solution on air pollution simply because we are not tackling the big issues of air pollution. India is a large consumer of biomass and coal. In fact, 80% of our energy supply comes by burning biomass and coal. And both these fuels are highly polluting. If we are not able to address the issue of biomass and coal, we will not be able to reduce air pollution. So the fact that we are still consuming large amount of biomass as cooking fuel, for example, and we are burning coal to produce electricity, both of them contributes a lot for air pollution. So unless and until we are addressing the real problem, we will not see reduction in air pollution.
You spoke about coal and electricity. How do you look at India reducing its electricity by 50% renewable, the way our policy of the government says, say by 2030? How do you look at this?
I look at it as very positive development. The fact that the Prime Minister went to Glasgow and committed that India is going to meet 50% of its electricity requirement by 2030 from renewable sources is a very, very bold commitment. And if we meet this commitment, we will basically change the energy sector in this country. We will have more solar and wind plants than we will have coal plants, which is going to completely change how we produce and consume electricity. So I am very positive about it. India is doing reasonably well in installing solar and wind energy. We will have to accelerate that installation, but I'm very positive about this commitment.
How do you further analyze the Glasgow Climate Conference? What is your analysis and the outcome that you feel?
Well, I was in Glasgow for about a week. I was not that optimistic about the outcome, but I was wrong. I'm very pleasantly surprised with the outcome. In the middle of the pandemic, countries came together. They understood that what environmental catastrophe can mean, because we all were suffering from COVID. And if COVID can shut down the global economy, then think what climate change can do. So I think the COVID episode had hit home, and therefore countries were very open, and I think we had a reasonably good agreement at Glasgow.
What, according to you, are the top 5 SDG goals as far as climate catastrophe is concerned that it can be avoided?
Well, for India, I think the major SDG goal has to be related to water, it has to be related to land, it has to be related to poverty alleviation, it has to be related to energy sector, and it has to be related to the entire issue of pollution. Because these are the 5 major challenges that we are facing right now. If we are able to address land, agriculture, water, air, energy problems, we will solve a significant part of our development and environmental challenge. Let me tell you why. We are experiencing massive land degradation, and similarly we are experiencing water scarcity and water pollution. And these two are very strongly linked with poverty and development. If we do not tackle water and land crisis that this country is facing, we will be in far deeper trouble. So both land and water is important. Industrial pollution, whether it is waste management or air pollution, is now impacting health of people. Energy system transformation is required for climate change. We need to address that. So all these 4 or 5 are top priorities for India, and we need to work on them.
Absolutely, sir. Here I'd like to ask you another question. We saw huge pollution, and we see this kind of pollution happening during Chhat Puja and other such festivals, to name a few, even in our sacred river, Yamuna. How do you look at all this?
Well, it is ironic that a religion, a faith which is born out of nature, will lead to such pollution. All the religions that are born in this subcontinent are deeply rooted in nature. Whether you take Sikhism, Buddhism, Jainism, Hinduism, they all are deeply rooted in nature. And therefore, it is ironic then that when we celebrate our gods, when we celebrate our festivals, it leads to pollution. I think this basic disconnect between our heritage, our religious and cultural heritage of protecting the environment, and our practice is deeply disturbing and disconcerting. I think it is important that people are educated what religion means. People are educated how we should celebrate our festivals. Celebration of festival is not about creating more pollution. It is actually about saving nature. And I think this message must go out.
Absolutely, sir. India is under a lot of international pressure to announce a net zero target. How do you look at India's net zero policies, sir?
I am again very positive about the announcement made by the Prime Minister at Glasgow that India will need to reach net zero by 2070. See, net zero is an inevitability. Every country will have to reach net zero if we want to halt global warming. Some countries will reach there before, like developed countries. They should reach net zero as soon as possible. And developing countries will get a few more years, decades. But we will also have to reach net zero. And therefore, the announcement at Glasgow was very important. It energized the entire climate discourse simply because countries were not expecting India to announce a net zero target at Glasgow. Again, like renewable energy target, I'm very, very optimistic and very pleased that India has announced its net zero target.
Could you quantify on the nature and character of cyclones, as we're seeing far too many? What is it in common man's language?
Well, a cyclone is a very simple natural phenomenon. It is very simple science. When you have more heat, you will have more evaporation. When you will have more evaporation, you will have more cloud formation. You will have higher winds, and this high heat and high evaporation is leading to formation of more cyclones. Okay, the warmer our ocean is going to be because of climate change, the more cyclones and more intense cyclones we will have in the future. And therefore, the latest Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change report, IPCC report, which was published over the last 1 year, 3 reports were published, are very clear that as the warming will increase more and more, you will have more cyclone. And you will have, now India is in trouble because we used to have cyclone in Bay of Bengal. Okay, now we have cyclone in Arabian Sea, which is very unique. We never had cyclone. We had very few cyclone in Arabian Sea, but because of warming, both sides of India, Arabian Sea and Bay of Bengal, are now cyclone prone. So yes, it is a very disturbing trend. But this is something that we will have to deal with. We will have to adapt coastal communities to cyclone. We will have to build cyclone shelters. We will have to improve our warning and forecasting systems. These will have to be done.
As we just spoke about countries devising their decarbonization strategies, would you throw some light on how this could affect countries like India and keeping climate action strategies and considerations? What is your natural feel about decarbonization, sir?
Well, like net zero target, decarbonization will have to happen. Okay, we are consuming just too much carbon, whether coal, oil, or gas, and therefore we are emitting too much greenhouse gases, which is causing global warming. So decarbonization will have to happen. Decarbonization is already happening. For example, India has installed close to 1 lakh megawatt of renewable energy. If we would have not installed that 1 lakh megawatt renewable energy, we would have installed coal-based power plant, a carbon-based energy source. So decarbonization is already happening. It is happening in automobile sector. People are moving to electric vehicles rather than oil, petrol and diesel vehicles. Decarbonization is happening in now steel sector. Countries are learning to produce steel from hydrogen. So I think decarb market is now very bullish about decarbonization because technologies are available. So again, like net zero target, like renewable energy target, decarbonization is something that is going to pick pace in the future.
Absolutely, sir. And if we look at pollution, what is your take on factory pollution perhaps, and how could we reduce air pollution all across India? I mean, this is a big worry for climate.
See, air pollution, as I said, is a problem both of what we are burning and as well as of enforcement of laws. I think the major problem with factories are not technologies. Technology is available to control air pollution. The major problem is that we are not able to enforce our laws, especially with small scale industries.
Sir, about stubble burning, as you just spoke, if you could quantify that further, because every year in winter we see a hazy sky, we're not able to see properly, breathe properly. In fact, only during the lockdown did we get a little, clear and pleasant air. So why is it not happening when we are talking about this for years on end?
Well, it is not happening first because we are not using appropriate technology. Second, we are not enforcing the law. Stubble burning is illegal. It is written in the law that no farmer is allowed to burn stubble. But I don't think any political party or government has the power to stop it. So first, I would like to make it very clear, burning of stubble is illegal in India. Okay? Our environmental law does not allow burning of stubble. So why it is happening? I think it is a problem of technology. You will see stubble burning more in areas where combined harvesters are used. Mechanization has come. Areas where still manual harvesting is used, stubble burning is not there. simply because stubble is too valuable. So with combine harvester, you leave about 6 inches of stubble in the ground. It is not useful, you burn them. But that has to change because we now have better technology, better combine harvesters that will allow cutting of the complete stubble. You have now market for stubble. You can use stubble in power plant. You can use stubble for many products, including paper production and many other things. So I do not think from technology point of view it is a problem. It is a problem of economics, and therefore my proposal has been that government promote new combine harvester technology and incentivizes the small farmers not to burn. I think both of them will have to take place before we can get rid of the stubble burning problem.
Absolutely, sir. And now that we're talking on India science, my question to you would be, how do you make environment science as a basic curricula and syllabi for children so that, they are the future, they protect the earth?
I think science communication is an extremely important thing because a scientifically aware society will take a lot of rational decision. I'm not saying that science is the answer for everything, but certainly science allows you to ask right questions. Okay, it removes a lot of superstition. It allows people to examine themselves, and therefore science education and communication is extremely important. As far as children are concerned, I think we need to teach them environmental science in the classroom, but we also need to take them outside the classroom. We need to show them the nature. We need to experience the nature. We need them to understand how food is produced. Till they understand nature, they will not become a responsible citizen. So yes, science education in the classroom is important. Television programs like these are important. But taking children to nature, I think, is far more important as part of education.
Absolutely. You spoke about coal a while back. How do you look at India's coal policy, and what are the steps that you feel should be rightfully taken now to stop dependability on coal?
Well, the first is that India is installing a lot of renewable energy. As we install more and more renewable energy, obviously coal consumption will go down. And I think that's the policy of the government. Today, we are consuming a lot more coal simply because the alternative is not there. There is not a large capacity of renewable energy that can substitute coal. But over the next 10 years, I think coal consumption is going to peak in India, and then it will start coming down. What is going to be most important is, if coal reduction happens, how we are going to deal with communities who are dependent on coal, whether it is Dhanbad or Korba or Angul or Singrauli. These districts are completely dependent on coal mining for their growth and jobs. So one big challenge, while reducing coal is important for both environment and climate change, one big challenge will be, how do we make this transition just so that people who are dependent on coal do not suffer and there are alternatives provided to them. So just transition is going to be a very, very important issue for this coal transition.
All right, what are your views now, sir, on taxes on carbon? A lot of people have been talking about this.
We are already taxing carbon. Frankly, there is a coal cess of 400 rupees per ton. And this has been there for the past, decade. The only thing is that the coal cess is currently being used for GST compensation. But there is a carbon tax. India also taxes fuel the taxation on fuel is very high. In fact, our tax on oil, petrol and diesel is one of the highest in the world. So there is a implicit carbon tax on all the fossil fuels that we are consuming. And it's apart from taxation, I think we now have to move towards using that tax money for better green technology and green investments, which we are not able to do right now.
Absolutely, sir. Could you tell us about climate change and knowledge management in India? How do you look at knowledge management of climate change?
Well, there is a lot to be done on climate change knowledge management. Obviously, over the last 10 years, the knowledge on climate change has increased. There are a lot more publications, a lot more books. It is being taught in the classroom. So we have seen tremendous improvement in knowledge management, but a lot more needs to be done. Because so far, what we have done is to increase awareness, but that awareness has not got converted into action. Okay, and there is this big gap in knowledge management between awareness and action. Okay, so the new knowledge management in climate change will be to provide knowledge for change, not only knowledge for awareness. And that's going to be the new era of knowledge management that we need to talk about.
What about e-vehicles? How do you look at them coming? How soon can we phase out petrol and diesel?
Very difficult to say how soon we can phase out, but certainly I can tell you is in 10 years time, you or your children are not going to buy petrol and diesel vehicle. Okay, that I can assure you right now. Okay, electric vehicles are going to be far better, far cheaper, far more efficient, far more good looking than all the cars and two-wheelers on the road right now, which are dependent on diesel and petrol. So I am very clear that technology shift has started. Okay, it is just a matter of time when people will buy more electric vehicles compared to petrol and diesel vehicle. But that transition is going on. No one can stop it. Companies who are not getting into e-vehicles will close down in 10 years' time. Okay, and therefore you see even company like Maruti, which at one point of time was not investing in e-vehicles, have started investing in electric vehicles. So it is the future.
Absolutely. And lastly, I'd like to ask you, sir, your vision for a healthier planet. What is your vision of Invest in Our Planet? What is that larger outreach message that you'd like to give to all our viewers?
Well, the larger message is that we all are in it together. There is no way that government can alone solve this problem. There is no way that private sector can alone solve this problem, or NGOs or environmentalists like me, or a knowledge management person like you. We all are in it together. We now need to work together. We need to change our habits, because I think one of the fundamental problem of planet emergency that we are talking about is our consumption habits. And we have really got into this bad habit of consuming unnecessary things. So we need to reduce our consumption. We need to change our habits. We need to make it more environmentally sustainable and responsible. That would be my message. Thank you.
And on that note, I'd like to thank you, Chandrabhushan sir, for joining us and sparing your valuable time. And to all our viewers, Earth Day is an important day for people to take time out of their busy schedules to consider the impact that humanity has on environment and on taking the right steps to minimize these impacts. As a result, we can all live happier and healthier lives in tune with nature. Thank you all for watching this special program on Invest in Our Planet on India Science. On that note, many thanks for watching. Namaskar.